Welcome everyone to the April 10th, 2024 Disability Advisory Board meeting. Thank you for joining us for those out in YouTube and Facebook world. We're still waiting for one member to join us, and we have Cynthia Long and we have, Lang, and Abby, is it Yeats or Yates? Yates, okay. And my name is Lisa Huckler, so again, welcome. So I think we'll wait for the approval of the meeting minutes until Michelle gets on. We do have, oh, are you there? Oh, there she is.
She's here.
All right.
I am so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. The first order of business, we would like to make a motion to approve the March 13th, 2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to
Okay,
approve
Cynthia,
them.
do I have a second?
Can I officially second it since I wrote the minutes? But
Yes, yeah, you can. Yeah. Okay, so second, and then all in favor? Aye. Abby, you can vote even though you weren't on it. Okay, so that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Next, we want to welcome, we have a new member, Abby Yates, and she's joined us. She was approved by the Board of Supervisors at their last meeting on last Wednesday night. So we welcome Abby. I know that we met Abby for the first time at Community Day last year in September. I guess it was maybe the weekend before Memorial Day, so August. And we enjoyed talking with her and meeting her family, her children, her husband, and we knew right away that she would make a good fit. And I think we were all there putting our best efforts saying, Abby, we would love you to join our board. So Abby, I know you have a full plate, I'm sure, and your busy life. So was so happy that I knew you were still considering, but I'm glad the timing worked out and that you were finally able to reach out to the township and then get an interview, and we're welcoming you today. So we're very excited to have you.
Yeah.
Just look forward to all that you can bring, a different perspective. We all have our reasons that we have joined, the board. And I guess I'll just start really quickly of, I joined because my nephew is a quadriplegic. So it actually was 27 years ago today that he became quadriplegic. So it's kind of a sad day. And sorry. But that got me involved, right? And I just know a lot about someone becoming disabled after they were abled, navigating wheelchair life, navigating nursing systems and all that. So that, that was my interest. I helped him a lot. I went to college with him, took notes because he doesn't have use of his arms, his hands to take notes. So, I've just been an integral part of his life. And I'm happy to be on this board and just in our community, making a difference, hopefully, for people. So, we can kind of go around, but let's just start off with Abby. Just give us a little bit of your background and why you wanted to join our board.
Sure. So my master's degree is in social policy from the University of Pennsylvania, where I focused on disability and mental health policy. And then afterwards, I worked as a TSS and autistic support and some other classrooms. And then we adopted 2 kids that have disabilities. So yeah, it's kind of been a running theme through my life, but we moved into the township about 1.5 2 years ago, and I'm excited to try and help make the township enjoyable and accessible for everyone. My son is quadriplegic, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, legally blind, and my daughter has some physical differences. She has some leg braces and different things. So intellectual disability all mixed in there. So
would you say when you've only been here 1.5 years, is this community or even the school district more helpful than where you came from? Or are you seeing a lot of differences, or are there things
it's the same school district? We came from Pennsylvania, but we were in Falls Township. So we weren't that far away.
Yeah.
Really, we would
Okay.
come to like the parks here because they were closer to our parks. So it's not
Yeah.
really a huge difference
Okay.
from where we were, but excited to be able to help make a difference.
Okay, great. Great. So you have a lot of perspective, from support that you need. Are you getting it in the community? You're going to learn how to navigate, as they get older too, just, the whole system. So, hopefully, I'm sure you're getting all the resources you can, especially with your background, you kind of know how to navigate,
Yeah.
and be a good advocate for your children. I think that's the first part, just knowing where to start to get resources.
For sure.
And that's where, it's hard for us to reach out to people, but, we do have our webpage, and hopefully, people can find resources on that. I think the biggest thing that and I think this, is that our group really doesn't provide services, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not like you would have come to us and we could have provided anything more for you other than to direct you. We would direct you to the appropriate services. So I'm going to assume that you have a lot of knowledge in that, and would be able, if somebody had a question for us about that, you would, obviously be able to answer a lot of those questions that we couldn't even answer. Okay. And is there anything specifically within our township that you think would need improvement, or you wish we had? Again, your kids are younger, so they're probably getting a lot of support, but is there anything?
I think with some of the renovations going on, especially with bathrooms, an adult changing table would be extremely useful.
Actually, that's a good idea. I never thought.
My 7-year-old is needs that, and honestly, the Phillies just put one in at their stadium, and we were there, and it was the easiest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
I have to worry about going to the back of my car or putting him on the floor of a public bathroom. So
Now, do they do that with a family restroom or in the main restroom?
A family restroom.
So it would be a family restroom. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so great.
Yeah.
I never even thought of that, Abby. That's been,
It's super
Yeah, I
useful.
wonder if we could hit up, I know we had brought that to the attention of Prickett, when they were building, that we needed family restrooms, right? But I never would have gotten that specific with an adult changing table, right? I just would not have known. But maybe that's something that we could bring up, if they haven't already started. I don't know if they're going to have a public restroom there or not. Like, I don't know.
Well, I'm kind of thinking out of the box, and I didn't mean to interrupt, and welcome, Abby. There's a shop, Leg Up Farms. I know you and I are from the same hometown, but Leg Up Farms specializes for children with disabilities. And I sell my cards. They have a family bathroom, which is awesome. And they might even have a changing table. I don't know. I don't think it's an adult size, but it's larger. But maybe if we plant the seed in, it's, that would be, it's just a family bathroom room that maybe we could propose. Hey, I know you're working on the new pools. This is something that we need. The pool, the restrooms in the Wegmans is pretty much done, but there's so many opportunities that we could spin this out. The parks as they upgrade the systems. So.
Right. And the pool bathrooms are still on hold. So that's something, again, putting it into their, just.
And it might be an opportunity even to get a grant. Like, that's where I kind of am thinking of.
Right. Okay. And then, Abby, you're still not into like transportation, or like you probably have your own transportation. So I know that's always a big one for people that live in our township, that there's not really public transportation. But I know that, wouldn't be one of your issues right now. But yeah, okay. So no, that's great. We obviously, welcome you. And just, Michelle and Cynthia, if you just want to introduce yourself to Abby and just maybe give a quick, why you were interested in the board.
Cynthia.
Oh,
Go.
Megan. Yeah, well, I was interested in being on a board because my daughter is on the council for Yardley. And when she got elected, I saw how much work she did. I actually felt really guilty. Like, oh, you're doing so much, and I feel so bad. I've never done anything to help with the government. And so she said, why don't you just join an advisory board? Those are so helpful to the people who have been elected. And so I picked this one because I had a stroke 11 years ago. So I felt like I had some insight into it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Michelle?
Well, welcome, Abby, and we met at the event. So I was thrilled to hear your nomination and joining. I have a similar background. I'm social policy, advocacy, social work, but I have lived in Lower Makefield for over 20 years. And I was on different boards. I primarily historic preservation, HARB, trying to save old homes, which everybody loves in our township. And then I was diagnosed with MS in 2010 officially, and kind of thought maybe I should join the disability board. I was on SIL, so I want to help make a change for our township for people with disabilities and utilize my contacts and strengths and policy ideas and fundraising and things like that. So welcome. It's a great group. We're light.
I'm excited.
We've got, I love this township. There's so many opportunities, I think, and Lisa's really been a key proponent in that. And that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and just with that, we do still have 2 open positions. We still need 1 more member and 1 alternate. So if anybody's out there listening, just feel free to send your resume to the township, and it's very easy. Abby can tell you. Just send in your resume, and then they schedule you for a quick 5-minute interview, hopefully, and no issues there. But all right, next, I just wanted to bring up again the Center for Independent Living, because we do get their newsletter each month, and just wanted to pass along that they are moving May 1st, and they have their location at 3466 Progress Drive in Bensalem, PA. And they do have in-person services by appointment Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And again, for the Bucks County Center for Independent Living, their goal is to provide information, referrals, independent living skills, educational, I guess that goes with it, peer support, transition services, and advocacy. So that's the foundation of all their programs. So just, again, just want to keep them, make everyone aware that they're around, but they'll be moving and in Bensalem. The next event that I wanted to promote is the Strolling for Service Dogs. We're not going to have a table or anything there, but it is April 20th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Memorial Park. And, they do, they collect money, and they obviously train the dogs. For a lot of them are for veterans, for, anyone that's needing a service dog. And I'm sure it's very expensive just to, get one dog trained and, getting ready for service. Go ahead, Michelle. Did you have a question or comment?
No, it's very expensive. I looked for myself, and it's at least 5,000 sometimes. The one in Lancaster, I think, was 4,500 with a wait list of,
Yeah.
Yeah. My best friend in high school had one, and
Yeah.
we did like a small fundraising. So.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, but I love they're doing this event too.
Yeah.
So.
And I think there's a registration on Facebook or maybe it's $25 or $30 if you do participate in something, but you don't have to participate. You can just go and attend, and they have all kinds of raffle baskets, and they have a lot of dog friendly treats. So if you're looking for some treats for your pet, they're selling things. I think they have food trucks, and so it's a whole big event. So I encourage everyone to attend that if you're able. And then the next big event that I'm very excited about is the 5 Mile Woods. It's finally coming to completion there. And I had the opportunity to go out on Friday. I met with Monica Tierney, Director of Parks and Rec, and John, I'm not going to even try to say his name, John H. He's part of 5 Mile Woods and has been just there every day working on the accessible path. And I know Monica's father's been out there. Like, they just had, so many volunteers, but I met with them and we just kind of went over some things, talking about signs. I took a look at like the turning radius areas. Every couple hundred feet, they have larger areas, where people can pass. 2 people can pass. I think it's more than 60 inches, but just if they want to save for more than 60 inches, there's areas. Then on Saturday, I went over at 8:30 in the morning before all the volunteers got there. And there were about 12 volunteers, just welcome them in. They did a sign-up sheet. I think they're keeping track of how many, hours people are putting in to put in this accessible path. But what it is, it's the Trex material. And they were putting up like a 2.5-inch barrier on each side, which is, it's only maybe 3 inches high. But if if you're in a wheelchair, it gives you a little security that you're not going to go toppling off the side. And then we were discussing the signage. And so I did a bunch of research on that. And, I didn't realize that, prior to going onto an accessible path, it's kind of important for someone to make their own decision to say, am I able to do this? Like, what is the slope? Maybe somebody can do 0 slope, in a manual wheelchair, but, certain paths might have a little bit, maybe a 3% slope, a little bit more. So you have to put, sorry, you have to put the length of the trail. So a sign at the beginning has to tell you the length of the trail, the type of surface. So obviously that's pretty easy because it's all boards, the Trex, the minimum trail width. So that's what is, some places are 60 inches. So they have to say the maximum and then the minimum, minimum width. And then they have to tell you what the maximum and minimum slope is and cross slope. So that all has to be on a sign prior to, someone entering into that path. So they know that they can, can navigate that. Then the other thing is just deciding on signs. And, you don't have to use the international symbol, which is the wheelchair. That's like the international symbol of accessibility. But in something like this, that's not required. There's only really 6 places that's required. And that would be like parking, bathrooms, certain entrances. But we felt that it was important to, I don't know, just to alert people that this is handicap accessible. This is. So they're just going to do the brown signs, and it has like a wheelchair and then like a hiker. So they're going to have that. And they were worried that people, even though you could tell when the boardwalk ends, they really wanted to put something that says accessible trail ends, just so to alert people that, it's not safe to go further if you, have difficulty navigating. So they're going to do that. And then they do have 2 handicap parking spots. The only thing they need to do is they didn't have the, you have to post the minimum and maximum fines to be legal in the state of Pennsylvania. So they were going to add the additional parking sign, the way that it's supposed to be in Pennsylvania. But they did do
either of the spaces van accessible. Yeah,
they're both. They have one striped area in the middle that is accessible. So if you back into one and the ramp goes down, and then they did a brand new concrete sidewalk that leads to the house. So it's going to be totally smooth. And so from the van accessible spots, you're going to be able to get to the building, which the building you don't need to go into, but they do have handicap restrooms. I wouldn't say they're the nicest restrooms, it is the woods. And there is a lip. So they were going to try to, it's only like it's more than a 1/2 inch, which is what it's supposed to be. So they were going to try to do like a small slope of some sort. It doesn't need a ramp, but it definitely has a lip. So, I mean, you might have to lift up the wheels on something. So they're still working on that, but that will be done. So anyway, so we worked on the signage, and then the big thing is they're going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony on Sunday, April 21st at 12:30. So it's going to be at 12:30. I think the open house is more like Earth Day, but they decided to do the ribbon cutting during the Earth Day from 12 to 4, but 12:30 will be the ribbon cutting. I did reach out to some of our previous members on the board because we've been kind of talking about this for 10 years. So took a little while, but by the time we got the grant and you get enthusiastic people, you have John, part of 5 Mile Woods Committee, and all the volunteers finally all got together, and it came to fruition. And so unfortunately, only Dave Rogers will be joining us on that Sunday. And again, he was a longtime member of our board for, I want to say, almost 20 years. So I'll be excited to have him there. Is there anything else on that? So, I encourage everyone to attend. I know Abby's not going to be available that day. So Cynthia and Michelle, if you're available, come out, around 12-ish, and, you'll be done by 1 o'clock, but definitely come out and walk the boardwalk. And they're going to do a lot more work. There's a lot of Boy Scouts, Eagle Scout projects that are going to be occurring along there. And they actually built a platform where wheelchairs can go. And when they hold events out in the meadow, they'll be able to view the meadow. It's going to be all natural. But I think some of the Eagle Scouts are going to build walkways, maybe brick, that lead to a campfire where they're going to hold educational things about nature and woods. So that's going to be able to come down off of the boardwalk, but then onto a paved area that the Eagle Scouts. So there's lots of projects for Eagle Scouts to get involved out there. And that'll take the next year or two, but I think that'll be really nice. Okay. All right. Anybody have any more questions on 5 Mile? And, the grant came from PICO. I think we did get around $40,000. So, we thank everyone that was involved. All right. The other, every week every month, we will update on Parks and Rec projects. They have a lot going on. The Memorial Secret Garden, is going to be ongoing. It needs two major things. It needs the surface and it needs shade. Right now, priority has to be given to the surface because it is cracking. And, for safety reasons, that's going to have to be addressed before the shade. I did look at the soft surface. So they literally are like the tiles you would put down on a floor, kind of like rubbery, right? If you put in your house, like the play mats that kids would use. But these are about, I would say, 8 inches thick. So it's this big rubbery thing that bounces, and it's about 6 to 8 inches thick, probably 8 inches thick. They come in, maybe 12 inches by 12 inches. So Monica was still doing her research. I think it's a great option. She showed me the cheaper version, and then they have a Premier. The cheaper is probably not the way to go. It doesn't aesthetically look nice, and it doesn't look like it's going to hold up. So they'd have to upgrade to this Premier, tile. But she's still going to reach out to the areas that are using them. And a lot of New York is using them, the cities. So I would think they're going to have experience, my concern of the water getting in between each of those, even though they're easily replaced. I mean, how often do you have to replace them? That's a question. So we still don't have enough information on those. But I think what she's finding out is the only money they're going to have is to do that and not to do the shade. And this is where an opportunity would be. I mean, I'm not familiar with grants that are available at all, but even if it's not grants, I mean, maybe even just, as if this is a project we think is something we could do in getting businesses or sponsors or grants, or I just don't see shade coming to the park on the current budget that we have in Lower Makefield Township.
I don't mean to jump in, but I'm just creatively thinking now that we have a lot of new corporate people in Prickett Preserve area, maybe it would be something that we could create a sponsorship. I'm not sure, are we allowed to technically go after sponsorships if it's not a grant? I don't know where that gray area of.
Well, if you think about it, look at Community Day. They have sponsors that sponsor Community Day, fireworks, right?
Right. And that's why I was wondering, maybe we
I think
could
you can
whittle our way in with Park and Rec, because this would be a great, I mean, I'm just thinking Wegmans is a fabulous, used to be family owned. I think now they're in upstate New York. And they're still really supportive of communities. Maybe it's an opportunity where we could craft something that it would be sponsored by a Wegmans or something, or I'd love to call Chase Bank, which is finally now in our backyard.
Right. I think maybe before we do any of that, we have to come up with a mission statement of this is, Disability Advisory Board. We've been around since 2004, and our mission is to get children, we built this inclusive park, but we're finding that, a lot of children can't participate because the sun is beating down, just like we need a whole background. We need a backstory before we can even go.
No, we absolutely do.
Yeah.
For grants, because they're usually like now, but in October, I don't know what the dates are, but or even a company that's works on shade, like Sunbrella. Wouldn't that be cool? Like we can figure it out.
So I think maybe we need to come up with just some lingo that, why would somebody want to give us money for shade? Like we have to make it so it's important. It's necessity. It's, needed for the children, especially children with different.
Well, and it's the idea of it's a memorial garden. Why is it a memorial garden? It's a garden in Lower Makefield that is a tribute, a memorial to 9/11, whatever. You can look at it.
Yeah.
It really was created for many, many reasons. So, I can help work on that if we all want to.
I was going to say, maybe at our next meeting, maybe we just have a little homework between all of us and just coming up with, if you were pitching this to, whether it's a Wegmans, whether it's McCaffrey's, whether it's a Chase Bank, I know, or whether it's a sponsor or whether it's a grant. Now that's two different things, but what would kind of be their motivation to helping, and maybe that's what I'm saying, looking back at our history, if you go back and look at
the reflection,
the garden of reflection, but also even like the ribbon cutting ceremony, I have to look at like when I did a speech opening up the playground. Maybe I'll forward that to you just to show, I didn't write the whole speech out, but I think there was some blurbs in there of why it was important to do an inclusive playground rather than just a regular playground, right? So we want to use the terminology of, why did we spend the extra to do this equipment? Because it was for autistic children to feel safe. And, they've wanted that cocoon feeling. It gave them a sense of security, and you wouldn't see that at a regular park, right? So it's tugging on the difference of, this is why we need this, why it's important to our community, how many people use it. I mean, I could ask Monica, that park is always crowded,
I was going to say, and my kids are now 32 to 26. So these things were not here. We were blessed. We had the park by the pool and it existed, or the swimming pool. We have so many wonderful things in the community that can help, children with disabilities, or like you said, there's creative things that you could interplay with, I just keep thinking of the Very Hungry Caterpillar, or how could we creatively make it shade for children that want to feel like they're in a cocoon, like maybe make it like a cool sunbrella or something like that.
Yeah,
exactly. A Yeti. But there's
And the
so
big thing that I, like, my whole thing was, it's not just a playground for handicapped or, to be inclusive. This is so children of disability and abilities can play together. There's
together.
no,
Yeah.
you don't have to name your disability. You don't have to, it doesn't matter, because you can both play in the
Yeah.
same area, right?
Yeah. And
that's
I love,
what we
and
want
they
to
don't
promote.
get, and nobody would get that. I mean, they just opened up a museum that's an interactive book museum, I think in Tennessee, where the kids are all interacting. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. I wish it was available like 20 years ago, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. So that's what we want to focus on. It is different. It's different than a regular playground.
I love it.
You have to make that known. Okay, so let's brainstorm a little bit on that. I don't know if anybody wants to look at like a grant. Again, I'm really clueless on grants, but I guess you have to fill out a bunch of forms, but maybe there's, I don't know, maybe Coca-Cola has $1,000 grant for playgrounds. You just never know. Like there could just be these, remember when you were applying to colleges, it would be like, oh, if I was a daughter of the American Revolution, I can get $1,000 here. Like you just kind of go searching out for, not that I was part of that. I wasn't around that. But yeah, so if you come across anything, keep your ears and eyes open online on Google for maybe grants for, playgrounds or children with disabilities or. Okay. Again, because it's just not going to be done with our current budget. The budget is pulled, in all different ways at this point.
As everybody's is, that's the sad part. But if we could creatively look at that, and if a Wegmans and a Chase hasn't been bombarded with 1,000 people, which I don't think, I just don't know what the protocol is anymore. I haven't done it in years, so
but we need to do a little homework before that anyway. Yeah. All right, next, I just wanted to bring up Makefield because, they're doing the whole study of the park. But I think what they're taking a step back and they wanted to get people's opinion. Now, I'm not sure how many people showed up to the open house for that. They held something at the community center. And it has to be done in phases. I mean, the way the park is right now, it's going to stay that way. And I think people just want a fix for parking and traffic flow, but there's a broader sense of, for in the next few years, what do we envision, or how should Makefield be used rather than just all for sports? Is there another use, that people want to see? I think at the Parks and Rec meeting last night, like the skateboarders wanted to see if they could, be heard because they need a spot in the township too, to have their recreation. So just if everybody wants to just go on to it's an interactive feedback page for the Makefield Park Master Plan. And you can find that on the Lower Makefield webpage. I do have the link here, but I think it'd be important for, everyone to kind of put, what they would like to see at Mackles eventually. Again, that's not something that's going to happen in the next year or two. Need some money for that.
Well, you sent us the link to that, but I guess the only limitation is that they sort of already have all the options they're considering on there. So there's no opportunity to inject any other ideas.
So it's just a
vote on-
checkoff list.
Yeah.
Can you
Yes.
write anything in?
No.
Oh,
Okay. So it's pre-populated.
So
yeah.
I figured they've probably been looking at it for a while and they distilled it down to this list. So I'm not criticizing them for doing that, but I just wanted to mention that you can't come in there with any new ideas.
So did the skateboarders get a voice? I'm sorry. Did the skateboarders get a voice on the box? Because I think they definitely need a skateboard park.
Yeah, there was a thing about skating. Yeah.
Okay. Well, remember, you can always write into the township. I know there, not just to the Parks and Rec area, but I know, like, I've already submitted, crazy Lisa submitted some things on the website, just about traffic patterns, and it's very easy to submit now, and they do get back to you right away. And then I did notice they took care of 3 of the things that I had on there, you know. So they do listen, I will have to say, you know. The other no updates, and again, we're just going to keep our eyes on these. It's Veterans Park, pool bathrooms, the community center handicap parking and the door, and ADA programming into the ADA transition plan. No updates on those, but just to make note for the ADA programming, and Abby, you might, you know, have an interest in this, but they do have a new programming director they just hired a couple of weeks ago. I met him out at the park on Friday. So, and he has experience. So I know that he's going to be working on a lot of new programs in the township. And part of the whole thing with the ADA transition plan was making sure it is inclusive, that we are offering things for children that have different abilities, and how they could fit into the programming. So if that's, you know, Abby, if it's something that interests you there, you have any ideas, if there was like a summer program for kids. I mean, I know we already do, like the Chamonix has, they brought all of their kids in the in the school district, they brought them all over to the pool. There might've been 60 of them, and they taught them how to behave at a pool. What does a whistle mean? Like very basic, you know, how do you act? And then just to, you know, get them to understand some of the rules, but they were all children with disabilities that might've had a hard time, you know, going somewhere. So they took the time to do that. So I know that they have programs like that with the school system. And I know they were working with Pennsbury too. But if there's individual programs that you can think of, or something that, you know, you have experience in, that it might be helpful to work with them. I would think that, Abby, that might be something when they, I think I'll send to you the ADA transition plan, right?
Please.
So we worked on that, and that's how the Parks and Rec got their accreditation. And they were they the only one in Pennsylvania? It was a very big honor. But the one thing we didn't expand on was the programming aspect of it. So Monica's asked us to get involved in that. So when they're ready, I think maybe that would be something that you could get involved in.
For sure.
Yeah.
I would be interested.
And really, when I say get involved in, it's really just helping them write up the protocol.
Right.
I mean, we don't have to come up with what type of programming necessarily. It's just, you know, this is the programming. How would somebody with, you know, a disability alert you to that? How could you, you know, make the program more accessible, you know, in that situation. So I had started it, so it wasn't something that, it's not like overwhelming. And like I said, it's not like you're getting involved with the program. It's really just, you know, maybe the types of questions you ask on a form, you know,
Right.
So then it gives you the ability to personalize it. You know, it might have to be done on an individual basis. You know, you're not going to have 20 kids with the same disability. That's nearly impossible. Each kid is going to have their own, you know, needs. So that's kind of where I'd started with Monica before. I said, Monica, it can't be general. It might be making a phone call to somebody that marks off, I have a disability. It might mean you have to pick up the phone and say, how can we accommodate you? What is your disability, right? I think we're small enough to do that. And that's going to be the best customer service, I think, for them. So I think that's definitely something that you would be just fantastic to get involved with. We'll let, I think his name is Rob. We'll let him get his feet wet. All right, next we have building plan review. So I'm going to let Michelle start off on that, and I'm sure I'll chime in.
You know, I have to, I apologize. Today's been a crazy day, but Jim, Lisa, as you were copied on, Jim mentioned that there's a new restaurant going in over at Prickett's. He was going to forward the plans. I haven't seen anything yet. So that's pretty much the main thing. It looks like Wegmans is kind of in the, you know, already wrapped up. Like I said, the new restaurant awaiting plans. And there's also a couple new things happening. I don't know where they are. I don't know much about them. Duck Donuts, which caught my eye. I was like, wow. And just a couple little things. Chime in, Lisa, if I don't have his email in front of me, but it looks
Okay,
like,
yeah, I did get a chance to look at his email, and actually I already responded back with a couple questions,
okay.
just because that's what I do.
No, I think there's going to be a lot of questions.
Yeah,
And,
right.
I don't mean to be like Debbie Downer, but the reality is that used to be an old farm. So we had the old integrating with the new, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on over there. But what were
Yeah,
your
so
questions?
they have the barn, which is going to be the restaurant. So I looked at those plans, and pretty much, the inside, they're going to have an elevator, they have a ramp going up. So my only question, and pretty much the inside, areas are going to be accessible. But I couldn't tell from his plans, like where the handicap parking was going to be and where the main entrance was. I was confused on, they have the elevator, but what's the elevator for?
Where is it?
Because the ramp was over on the other side. So I said, what's the main entrance? So whatever the main entrance is, that's where the handicap parking should be, at the end. And I said, it should be at the end of the ramp. Like, it shouldn't be over in a little corner or across the street. Wherever that end of the ramp is, the entrance to that building, that's where if 2 handicap spots are needed there, 2 should go right in front of the ramp. So that was my.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a door that goes from the elevator area too, because the majority of people who are going to need the elevator are exiting out to a parking lot. So you might want ADA parking in that area, 2 there, and then
Right.
two in the main front area, obviously van accessible. And that's, without going off the record here, I think that's one of my biggest cluster problems with the whole design of the plan. And we've looked at everything as piecemeal. I mean, Dave and I sat, and it was townhouses here, and the parking was across the street. And then you had the Wegmans, and you got that. And then Chase doesn't have anything. I was like, come on, I'm a person with a disability. I want to know that the parking's right there, or the elevator's right there, or there's this, or,
Yeah, and Jim did say right back and said, well, I'll do a sketch plan for you to show you. So I was a little confused. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll take a look at that. And
yeah, he didn't get back to us on that, but so it was the parking. And like you said, I don't know what they're using the elevator for. I don't know what they're using the ramp for. Like, it was just, I didn't know where the main entrance was. You're saying, I couldn't tell where the parking was. Like, I don't know if there's parking over by that.
There has to be, but the question is, because then why did we give so many spots to the CVS? We have X number of spots on the Chase. But for my personal, and I can't talk because I haven't wanted to go over there yet. I apologize. My kids, everybody have said the traffic is very congested over at Wegmans, and we're not even 80% or more of expand. So
yeah, we can't have people with disabilities crossing any streets, because that's very dangerous there.
I will say the parking situation at Wegmans is great. We've gone with the vans multiple times and have never had an issue.
Good.
Accessible parking at Wegmans.
Good.
But you're right, like the restaurant area though is all clustered. Yeah, so we just can't envision it yet. So we just have to keep our eye on that. Yeah.
Well, and I think we're it's new, and we have to look at it positively. It's new, it's an experience, but when it allows us to prepare for the busy season, we're going to have Shady Brook across the street. So you don't want anybody crossing or walking from Wegmans to the CVS, or we need to make sure that there's accessible awareness, or, I just keep thinking of, those places that light up. So if you're walking across the street, you make sure you stop. Not everybody remembers that Pennsylvania is a state like Massachusetts. I reference because I know it. Pedestrians have the right of way. So interlay that with a person who has a challenge of a disability. You want to make sure, I mean, with all due respect, and I hate to say that, but Newtown is a madhouse once in a while. If you've been shopping over where the McCaffrey's is, and now that they have all my favorite restaurants and Crumble, but
It's
I'll tell
nearly
you,
impossible to get handicap
you take
parking.
your life in your own hands. And, I kind of think I've lived long enough. If I'm going to get hit, it's on God. You know what I mean? But it's crazy because nobody stops and looks at that stuff.
Yeah.
So we have to be maybe kind of cognizant and keep on top of those plans. And I apologize, I didn't get a chance to look
Okay.
at and detailed.
I did
Abby,
get over there to look at the crossing from Shady Brook Farm to CVS. They have the proper, crosswalks, they have the push button. So I think
Good.
it's going to allow people to go back and forth safely there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we want it to be, I think we're all agree. We want it to be as community involved as possible, right? Isn't that why we're here? As Lisa says, don't leave, don't. That's what it is. It's a community. We're very blessed. We have forward thinkers that thought about stuff, and I think it's a great idea. It's just we need to make sure we put the puzzle together properly. And some of the stuff was done a little bit in piecemeal, but that's
Yeah,
just
I'm
not an
nature of
architect.
the business. Yeah.
It just happens. And I'm loving that we're utilizing this historic buildings like the barn. We probably do need the elevator because they've gotten grandfathered, and it's for people to get to the second
I think
floor.
they're going to have a rooftop. So I think people do have to be able to get up on the rooftop. Yeah.
Oh, well,
And
and
maybe
then
they're going to have like a large room on the third floor for
parties.
events. So that might be, that's why it wasn't clear on whether the elevator was for a main entrance or is it more for when you get inside to go up to the other floors.
I'll take a
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not as expensive as they used to be, these elevators, so it's really nice that they're putting it in. And in an old barn, I haven't been in that Prickett barn, but I can imagine what it looks like. That's going to be a nice design.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other new business? The only other business I had wanted to bring up was grants, and we already discussed that.
Yeah.
Anyone, Abby, do you have any goals for this year that you would like to see us to do or see us get involved with? Or you just want to get your feet wet?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah. Like off the top of my head, I can't think of anything.
No, I know. I'm putting you on the spot. All right.
I'm
So
sure
I
as
think
we get out more when the weather's nice.
yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah. Well, we're going to miss, like we were talking, we don't have community day this year. And so
No.
if there are events that anyone sees online that you think, just like we're talking about strolling for service dogs and the ribbon cutting for the 5 mile, like anything like that comes up even in between, let us know. And, we've reached out to the Representative Perry Warren and Steve Sanacero. If they have any events, I put out there that, please let us know if there's something that you think that would be beneficial for us to attend. So they're going to let us know, but, you almost have to go searching for things to be able to get out there and do.
Yeah. Any thoughts? I don't know what's going on with the bill, Cynthia, but it is an election year. So there's a lot on that end. There might be some opportunities and just continue to raise awareness for our disability group and some things now that SIL is getting more solidified with the merge with Lower Lehigh Valley. Even though they're in Salem, I think they'd be really receptive to working with the community and opportunities. So
I think they were having workshops to help people learn how to vote and not be scared to go into a voting, for, kids that are 18 and over can vote. And, maybe they were afraid to try it. So just to teach them, this is what it looks like. This is how you fill it in, or, you put the piece of paper in the machine like this. So I know that they were doing workshops on that. So you're right, with the election year coming up, they're probably doing more.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe it's not new business, but maybe we can bring it back on the table of like reaching out with League of Women Voters, making sure all of our voting facilities are up to date, you
Right.
know. The other thing and I haven't heard back from Perry Warren's office was on any of the disability discounts and things like that, people in aging community. They were gonna find, reach
Oh,
out
yeah.
to Burke, remember, on those things.
Yeah, if there's any credits or tax credits or,
Correct.
yeah, property
Which is-
tax rebates or,
Yeah.
I mean, I know they get involved with ABLE, which is the, you can put money away into a,
Mhm.
savings, pre-tax savings. Yeah.
I think they did increase some of the stuff on an income level, which will still help people, but those are things. I mean, it's obviously an election year is coming up. There's going to be a lot of stuff, but I think the more we raise awareness of disability stuff, the better.
All right, so our next is just our meeting schedule for the next few months. So we had decided that we were going to cancel May's meeting. I'm actually away on business. And then, so our next meeting would be June 12th. So it's always the second Wednesday of the month. So we're going to meet June 12th and then we'll cancel. Usually we cancel July's. It's too close to July 4th. Everybody's in vacation mode at that point. Okay, so if everybody's agreeable, does that sound like a plan? Okay. All right, so if there's nothing else, I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Cynthia,
Nobody wants to adjourn? Who said that?
Cynthia was so quiet. I talked too much this meeting. I'm so sorry. I'm like,
All right, Cynthia seconded then.
She seconded. I'm making Cynthia second.
Okay. All right, aye. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
Abby, welcome.